My love and I can't be together, or so they say. But why? I still don't really understand. But they say we are not the same, or so his mother claims. We are not the same? Like how? I'm confused. On the day my beloved and I go to visit his mother for the first time, she makes it clear to me that we can never happen. I sit there like a log, speechless, as if my tongue is tied, but really it's because I find no words to express my bafflement. He asked me to excuse them, wait for me in the car, I will be with you shortly. I obeyed, but stood by the door to eavesdrop. I need to hear something, at least to help me comprehend why this woman, who had sounded so sweet and welcoming over the phone earlier, suddenly is being so indifferent to me, now that we finally meet. Mom, why are you being like this? I hear him say. I'm not being indifferent, Obalolu. I'm telling you the reality. You cannot marry her, son. No son of mine is ever marrying from that tribe or any other tribe. But Mom, she's the one I love. No way, never. Then find someone else to love from our tribe. I will not accept anyone else apart from my own tribe. You will not marry an Igbo girl, not on my watch. Your father won't even accept it, and you know this, Oba. But she's the one I love, mother. Well, it's either her or me. Pick one. Door opens and bangs, and soon afterwards, dead silence. Bitterly, I turn away, my heavy heart pregnant with words my lips may never get to utter. I head calmly in the direction of the car we came in. Another door bangs. I know it's him coming out. I sit in the car and watch him tread over. Shoulders slumped, his eyes dropped the way they do when he's fatigued. My eyes stings from the struggle to hold back tears that threaten to trickle down anytime soon. I know you heard everything, right? I'm sorry you had to hear all that, Yvonne. My mother is not a bad person. I promise to sort everything out. Don't worry, dear. We will be fine. I smile a painful smile. He takes my hand in his and squeezes it gently. I am not convinced. How can I not be worried? He doesn't sound so confident like the Obalolu I know. I can tell he isn't so sure. Our love story began as a mere joke. I was introduced to Obalolu through a friend's friend. He was dating my friend's acquaintance, but the relationship was far from perfect. Oba was known for his tendency to date the most attractive girls at Unilag. I had heard of him, but he was unaware of my existence. We first met at the Faculty of Business Admin after his latest breakup. It was not meant to be serious for him, but we quickly became close friends and eventually lovers. Being his first Igbo girlfriend, I showed him the loving and sweet nature of our tribe. We saw each other every day and were truly happy together. Obalolu is truly the love of my life. Even after graduating, he continued to visit me at school, and after a year he proposed to me. I accepted without hesitation. Unable to imagine a life without my Yoruba prince, we decided to inform our parents of our plans. While my parents were supportive, I had no idea that my tribe would become an issue for Oba's family. After a visit to his mother's house yesterday, I have spent countless hours crying and praying, hoping for a change of heart. Oba promised to talk to her, and I'm holding on to the hope of a miracle. I pray that my tribe will not separate me from the love of my life. I am scared and heartbroken. I have known this man for 3 years, and I'm certain he will be the perfect husband. Why is tribe still an issue? His mother called me, and with a heavy heart uttered the words, Yvonne, I know you are an amazing girl, and that you both love each other, but unfortunately you cannot marry my son. I won't accept it. We cannot have a girl from your tribe in our family. My son is my first son, and he must marry a girl from my tribe. My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces as I listened to Obalolu's mother. Are you still there? She asked, and I replied with a weak yes, ma'am. She then added, be a smart girl and leave my son alone. I know he's being silly now, but with time he will listen to us, or we will be forced to cut him off. If you truly love him, you will let him go and find a suitable Yoruba girl for me. As I hung up the phone, I realized that I did not want to lose Oba, but I also did not want to cause problem for him with his family. After much thought, I made a difficult decision to let him go. I trust that God will lead me to a place where I will be accepted. Obalolu was heartbroken, but he begged his mother and pleaded with his father. However, they remained firm in their decision that he must marry a girl from their tribe. I moved to a different city to distance myself from Oba. I couldn't bear being near him and not being able to be with him. My sister suggested that I move, and I did. I found a job as a personal assistant to a successful entrepreneur in her 60s, Mrs. Baker. She was the perfect boss, kind and successful, and managed over 15 businesses. I became so consumed with work that I didn't realize 3 years had passed. I had blocked Oba's number, but I created a fake social media account to check on him from time to time. One Sunday, while scrolling through Instagram, I came across a wedding photo of Obalolu with his fiancée. To my shock, it was Shade, the girl he dated before me back in university. My heart broke all over again. As I saw how happy he looked, I checked the picture again to confirm that it was indeed my beloved Oba. There he was, looking handsome, now set to take over his father's oil and gas business. I guess his parents were finally pleased. Oba was marrying a girl from their tribe. I debated whether to send him a congratulatory message or to let it go. In the end, I decided to move on and quit social media to avoid seeing any more pictures of him. It was now a part of my past, and I needed to focus on my future. My life continued in the bustling city of Ibadan. And one day, my boss, Mrs. Baker, introduced me to her son, Bode Baker. Bode was a charming and talented entrepreneur. We hit it off immediately. He was quiet, responsible, and we had mutual friends from our university days. We realized that we had never crossed paths back then. We enjoyed each other's company, and when Bode asked me to be his wife, I was not surprised. He was the perfect husband material, and I knew he would make a great father. Our wedding took place in Ibadan, with only our closest friend and family in attendance. But they didn't want a lavish ceremony, and I was content with the intimate affair. However, my happiness was short-lived when I spotted Obalolu at our reception party. I was taken aback. How did Oba know Bode? How did they meet? When Oba walked up to us with Shade, it felt like the world stopped spinning. It was as if we were the only two people in the room, until Bode's voice brought me back to reality. He thanked Oba for coming, and Shade immediately exclaimed, "Oh wow, Yvonne, what a small world. I didn't know you were the bride." Bode looked at me questioningly, wondering what was going on. Oba cut in, "Yes, it's a small world. We all went to school together. I was surprised to see Yvonne here," Bode said. Smiling and shaking his head, he excused himself to attend to other guests while I followed him, wanting to distance myself from Oba and Shade. I plastered a smile on my face for the remainder of the reception, but inside me, my emotions were in turmoil. I couldn't think straight with Oba so close to me. Our eyes kept meeting, and it felt like something strong was pulling us together. I didn't know how to act, but Shade made sure to keep a close eye on Oba, not trusting him to be alone with me. I eventually excused myself, claiming to have a headache and needing to rest. But they suggested that I go home, and I eagerly took the opportunity to escape the tense atmosphere. Once I got home, I received a call from an unknown number. I instantly knew it was Oba. I hesitated but eventually answered. "Don't hang up, Yvonne. We need to talk," he said urgently. I asked what he wanted to talk about. He replied, "My goodness, Yvonne, you look so good. We need to see each other." I hung up immediately and turned off my phone. That night, all I could think was, But I told myself I would get over him. I had done it before and I could do it again. 2 years passed and Bode and I moved to Lagos. Our marriage was stable and I had just given birth to our first child. But just as I was finally happy and settled, Obalolu showed up at our front door to welcome us to Lagos. I greeted him politely and stayed in the kitchen for the entire visit, not wanting to sit or be near him. I knew I couldn't control my emotion when I was near him, and I wanted to avoid any potential complications. But the more I avoided him, the stronger my feelings for him grew. So like the devil was testing me. So when he called again, I begged him not to call or come over to our house anymore. He pleaded with me to have dinner with him just once, promising that he would never bother me again. I reluctantly agreed and we set a date for the dinner. That evening, I lied to Bode, telling him that I was going out to dinner with my old friends, and he didn't think much of it. I dressed up and arrived late for dinner. Oba was eagerly waiting for Yvonne's arrival. As soon as she entered the room, he rose to welcome her with a warm hug. The moment their bodies touched, she felt a shiver run down her spine. They sat down to have dinner and Oba couldn't keep his hands off her, constantly complimenting her. They spent hours catching up and laughing, reminiscing on old times. Yvonne realized it was late and asked Oba to refrain from contacting her or being close to Bode. He promised to try and walked her to the car. Just as she was about to leave, he pulled her in for a goodbye hug, but before she could pull away, he kissed her. Yvonne was about to push him off, but Oba's kiss was too intense. She found herself kissing him back, giving in to the passion that had been building up inside her. They finally broke apart, with Oba apologizing for wanting one last kiss from her. Yvonne was confused. All her hidden feelings for him came rushing out. As she drove home, she couldn't concentrate. All she could think about was their kiss and how it had made her feel alive again. The next day, she waited for Oba's call, but it never came. She was relieved, knowing she wouldn't be able to resist him if he did call. A week later, Yvonne couldn't resist anymore and called Oba. This was the beginning of an affair that consumed her. They met up whenever they could, unable to stay away from each other. They both felt the same way. But after a year of their affair, Yvonne started to feel confused and guilty. But her husband noticed something was up with her, but he couldn't figure out what it was. One day, Yvonne received a call from Shade, Oba's wife, warning her to stay away from him or she would tell Bode everything. Yvonne begged and denied the affair at first, but eventually promised to end things with Oba. However, Oba threatened to divorce Shade if she ever came close to Yvonne again. He even suggested they elope, but Yvonne couldn't bring herself to leave her husband. Bode had been good to her and she didn't want to hurt him. But fate had other plans. One day, Bode got into a major accident and was rushed to the hospital. Yvonne rushed to be by his side, realizing she couldn't leave him in his time of need. Bode was confined to a wheelchair and Yvonne took over his business, taking care of him. He needed her and she was determined to be there for him. Meanwhile, Oba couldn't bear to be away from Yvonne and constantly tried to contact her, even going to her house unannounced. Yvonne warned him to leave her alone, but they noticed the tension between Yvonne and Oba and confronted his wife about it. He demanded to know the truth, and Yvonne couldn't keep it any longer. She confessed everything, crying and begging for his forgiveness. Bode was heartbroken and moved out of their home. Going back to his family in Ibadan, Yvonne was devastated, not wanting her marriage to end. She went to Ibadan to be with her husband and asked for his forgiveness every day. She stood by him, taking care of him until he was able to walk again. Eventually, Bode forgave Yvonne, and they have now been happily married for 10 years. As for Oba and Shade, their marriage ended in divorce. Yvonne realized that her love for Oba was just a phase, a fantasy that came with a lot of consequences. She was happy with Bode. She has 3 beautiful kids with him. She had learned to love him, not just to settle for him. She was grateful for her husband and her beautiful life. She was glad that her love with Oba didn't work, and she would have never known the happiness she has now. Tribe or no tribe, she was happy and content with her life. She learned that love knows no tribe, no race, no boundaries. It is simply 2 people who are willing to fight for each other and make it work. And that was exactly what Yvonne and Bode did. They fought for their love, made it work, and despite all the obstacles that came their way, and that is the true meaning of love, to never give up and to always choose each other no matter what. The end.